So to start this week off, we were asked to look at both the USA Today and either the Macomb newspaper or the Oakland County newspaper. And so I decided to look at the Macomb paper and USA Today. And so when I was looking at both of those, I actually noticed that the Macomb was kind of a mix of national, state, and local news, while USA Today focused mainly on national and both international news. So like obviously the Macomb one is more focused on a smaller area, so it's gonna have more stuff relating to that area, whereas US Today is focused more on the big picture, and so I just found that interesting. Now, when I was looking at the Macomb Daily newspaper, the top three headlines, the first one was a sports report on the NCAA football season and the predictions that are coming with that. So it's talking a little bit about which teams are expected to be seeded where, which conferences are going to be the strongest, where the finalists are going to be coming from, and just stuff like that. And something that I read in the book was talking about paywalls when you're viewing content online for newspapers and how that became a thing in the late 90s, early 2000s when newspapers started to move more digitally. I thought that was interesting because when I was looking at the Macomb Daily, I actually came across a paywall and it told me that I had exceeded my daily viewing limit for free content. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, a little connect. But moving forward with that, the second headline on the Macomb Daily was talking about one of the halls at Elma College being renamed, Nisbet Hall being renamed due to the link that was currently discovered to the KKK. So while I didn't get to fully read that article due to the paywall, I just thought that was interesting. It's state news, not quite local. Now, the third headline on the Macomb Daily was reporting on Joe Biden coming to visit Warren. Now, this will be the first time that Joe Biden is in Michigan since I believe it said it'll be the first time he's in Michigan since the Democratic National Convention. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting. Again, it's looking at more local news. Obviously, that's in Warren, so Macomb is reporting on that on a state and local level. Now you can start to see some differences between the two websites when you're looking at the headlines, between the two newspapers, when you start to look at the headlines. When I was looking at USA Today's page, it was focused on the Ellen DeGeneres show returning to air, despite the controversies that she's currently in. I was reading a little bit, and it looks like she's currently facing some allegations of racism, sexual harassment in the workplace, and workplace toxicity, I believe it said. And so a little different aim from USA Today, where the Macomb Daily is looking at sports and how that's going to play out with COVID or COVID going on, and just how like the NCAA season is going to be different for that. USA Today is looking at a more like a more social issue. It's looking at how Ellen's comments or past behavior is going to affect her show, and that's got kind of a different aim for the audience and what kind of message they're trying to push across. They're trying to talk about more socio-political issues, whereas the Macomb Daily is more focused on entertainment and how COVID is affecting. Now, the second headline for USA Today was again actually focused on the entertainment industry. It was talking about whether or not the movie Cuties on Netflix should be receiving the backlash that it is or not. And while I didn't get to look at that article all the way through, I believe it's talking about the hypersexualization or over-sexualization of minors in that movie. And so after looking at some of these headlines, you can tell that they were definitely different from each other. They were not the same headlines. They weren't focused on the same exact things. In fact, the third headline for USA Today was talking about quote-unquote zombie fires. These are underground fires that I guess happen happen in the Arctic Circle and stuff. And so those have actually been causing a spike in record-setting wildfires within the Arctic Circle. And so that's looking at obviously a very international world issue, an environmental issue, and that's not exactly where the Macomb Daily was focused. But moving forward with the discussion questions, I definitely feel like these articles were chosen by editors based on what they thought was going to draw in the most attention and most interest. They choose headlines that if you're scrolling through browsing, it's going to make you stop and go, oh, what's that about? I want to read that. It's going to draw you into their website or their article or physical newspaper, whatever it may be. But in general, I believe that they are definitely looking for what is going to get the most attention and get them the most views. It's definitely it's a very competitive area and field, and so having the top stories or the top interest is detrimental to their business. I'd have to imagine they went through this process of choosing which stories make the headlines just by going through what their reporters brought to them for the week or month or however they may do it, and just kind of sorting through and deciding like which ones sound the most interesting or most, I guess, entertaining, which ones are going to get people to really talk and reference maybe their article. And other articles, they want exposure, they want the top stories. Now the last question was asking about how the new age of technology has helped these newspapers and these different sources, and I definitely think that the use of like digital tools have helped them a lot. And what I mean by that is like email lists, subscription services, payment plans for their newspapers. It's definitely about getting exposure, like I had said before. So being able to advertise online and get their name out there through those ways has definitely helped those companies stay alive. It's also a lot easier for their reporters to communicate with them from in the field. And they're able to send in pictures, send in articles, send their stuff in remotely, and so it's faster knowledge. And in a day and age where technology is ridiculously fast and everything is known within a couple minutes or hours, that's very important. Also, with the use of technology, they're able to make edits or corrections to stories on the fly, whereas back before the internet, you would have to do reprints and issue reprints that had corrections in them, and that news was a couple days behind or however long it may have been. Now you're able to immediately post an update and alert everybody instantly that there's been a change within the article. I definitely think that there were a lot of interesting things that we got to look at this week, and comparing and contrasting two different news sources was also kind of opened my eyes a little bit to see like what their main focuses are and what sort of like reader base they're going for, what their target audience is. I definitely think it was also good that we got to talk about just the different ways that technology has made advancements as well, and how the world is changing because of that. Because without the internet, I definitely think that things would be a lot different. And without these newspaper companies utilizing the internet and taking advantage of that, I don't think that the same ones would be around that still were today.